through the pain.
Listen to the people. Listen to humanity. Listen to the parrot. Parrot TV. Parrot TV. Parrot TV. Parrot TV. Parrot TV. Parrot. Listen to the people. Listen to humanity. Listen to the parrot. Parrot TV. Parrot TV. Parrot TV. Parrot TV. Parrot TV. Listen to the people. Listen to humanity. Listen to the parrot. Parrot TV.
America Open Market. AO Market. The best digital market for humanity is a free multilingual borderless market open to international sellers with various languages included. With America Open Market, you may start selling in minutes after filling out the form. Comprehensive dashboard where you understand your sales, orders, and customers is available. You get paid directly, securely, and instantly on the America Open Market. You can sell your house, car, electronic laptop, CD player, boombox, phone, headphones, furniture, and clothing, and anything on AmericaOpenMarket.com where all your sales and customer needs are met. Register as a merchant today. You will not regret becoming a vendor at America Open Market. For further inquiries, contact us at aomarket@gmail.com. AO Market, best digital marketplace for humanity. Hello, welcome to World Anchors Network. I am Dustin Pickering, your noble and honest host, and we were going to have Davika Mathur on the program today, but there was some scheduling issues and there was a misunderstanding of time, so we'll have her on the show another time. And instead, today we'll have Melissa Chappelle on the show. She's a wonderful person, and she just went through a really complicated surgery, and we're going to talk a little bit about how that affects her poetry and her writing abilities and how she's doing. So welcome to the show, Melissa. Tell us a little bit about yourself first, for those who haven't been and viewed some of our previous programs.
I'm a poet who lives in South Carolina, and for about 10 years, I've been suffering with cervical dystonia, which is a neurological disorder. And recently found out that it's a congenital birth defect, which for some reason manifested itself when I was in my 40s. And through a lot of research and through several years, I discovered a surgery that could not cure it, but could mitigate some of the more serious effects of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went through several surgeons who were not to my satisfaction, and but I finally found one who I liked a lot and trusted a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And he said that he would do the surgery for me, and so I had the surgery this past October 12th, and after a lot of waiting, except not quite as much waiting as I would have had with the other surgeons. And anyway, what they do is they just, in short, they drill 2 holes in your head, and 2 holes, one here and one here, which I haven't figured out the purpose of yet, and only that it aggravates your sinuses.
Mm-hmm.
And they put 2 electrodes down in your brain, and they put a pacemaker here beneath your collarbone. Not a pacemaker, a battery pack, lithium-ion battery pack. And I'm bipolar, so I have more than enough lithium now in my system. So I've got this lithium battery pack, and they run 2 leads down behind your skull,
Mm-hmm.
behind your neck, and they're really bizarre to feel. It's bizarre.
Mhm.
And they run down here, through here, down to the battery pack. And so, in the next couple of weeks, I'll go back, and they'll have a little transmitter that looks like a mini phone here. Won't be this big, but it'll be kind of a small version
Mhm.
of a phone. And, I thought I'd show you the owl there. And, and anyway, they will sync that with the battery pack,
Mhm.
and it's called a transmitter. And over time, I will learn how to transmit, how to use that transmitter to adjust the movements in my head and neck, and kind of power the right side of my body in order to normalize them as much as possible. So I won't be perfect or cured, but it will be as normal as I can make it. So,
Mhm.
as pre-dystonia as I can make it. So the going into the surgery, Dustin, I was mainly very excited.
Mhm.
I didn't have a whole lot of anxiety or anything, but it did. I did have thoughts of my own mortality, and what if, especially right afterwards, because they said there's a possibility of stroke and brain bleed and not waking up and death and things like
Very
that.
complicated.
And so I did have thoughts of those things, and and how that impacted my poetry. I didn't think consciously about how it impacted my poetry,
Mhm.
but I noticed that I started thinking about my poetry differently after that.
Hmm.
Um,
In what way do you think?
I started being more thoughtful about it
Mhm.
and trying to, because beforehand, I think in some ways I was a little bit reckless with it.
Mhm.
Um, I didn't, I don't really mean too reckless with it, like careless or anything, because I've never been really careless with it. But I wanted to be more thoughtful as to, you know, if I started with point A and went to point B, I wanted to end with point A again.
Mhm.
I wanted to draw a red line through it
Mhm.
and make it connect and draw more connections so that people could see that in the poem. And I want to be more thoughtful in that way. And I started to put very slowly a book together.
Mhm.
I'm not finished with writing the poems yet, but it's a poem. It's going to be a book about place and a sense of place, and I'm trying to be very deliberate in that.
Mhm.
And I used to just have a bunch of poems, and if I had enough poems, I would just kind of try to order them in some way that made sense, and then throw them together and hope it sold and this sort of thing. But I'm not going to do that anymore. That's
Mhm.
kind of careless. I'm going to try to be more deliberate with this.
Mhm.
Um, so I've become more thoughtful, and I want to try to, in this book that I'm working on, I want to try to get more outside feedback on it. The feedback of other poets.
Mm-hmm.
to see what they think,
Mm-hmm.
and um, what they could bring to it, and what criticisms they have of it. It could help. It could be my growing ages, because I have a lot of growing ages, and that I think could help me be a better poet. So
It's interesting. Do you think that the surgery itself, like there was a physical thing that happened that made you, think differently about your poetry, or was maybe it was a more emotional level, like going into a surgery and you just the fear of mortality, maybe, or something, brought you to an awareness of sort of writing differently and taking a different approach.
I think it was kind of the fear of mortality.
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of brought me to a different level of awareness.
Hmm. That's interesting. So, what ways do you think your poetry's changed other than structurally? Do you think, if you are you using a different terminology and language in your poetry, or are you perhaps, different subject matter or something of that nature?
Um, a lot of it has become more spiritual
Hmm.
and more natural, with the natural world, and intertwining the two. Not that I was writing a lot of that, about that before, but I've become more. When I wrote about that before, it was almost kind of accidental, but this
Hmm.
time it's become more intentional
More conscious.
to do that. Yeah, to do that. So,
Hmm. That's interesting. So, it's sort of closeness to possibly losing your own life, facing that possibility, and it sort of brought you to an emotional height where you're looking at your poetry from a more structured angle.
yeah,
And so you're writing like more about the natural world. I mean, I'm pretty familiar with your poetry. I've noticed that there's a lot of nature in your work already, and a lot of biblical themes and stuff. So you think that that's more prominent now in your work than it was before?
yeah. It's more. I'm being more forthcoming with it, and I myself have become more deeply spiritual since a month or so before my surgery. My spiritual life really deepened more.
Hmm.
My writing began to become that way too, and I began to draw more from themes from biblical literature. Just in one that I wrote, well, it's not a really good poem, but just as an example, one that I wrote while I was recuperating down at my brother's house. It's called Sabbath Rising, and I drew themes from Old Testament sacrifice, Hebrew sacrifice, and then at the same time, I drew themes from Isaiah
Hmm.
that kind of not really countered, but gave a different perspective to those things.
Hmm.
So I'm really kind of an Old Testament person. So
Yeah, I have that in common with you. I think I like the Old Testament.
yeah, I like the thematic material.
Right. So
Yeah,
it's good. It's good to mine the Bible for writing material.
yeah, yeah, it is.
No end of it. You just
It
it's a
is.
constant source of inspiration.
Yeah, it is.
If you'd like to share a poem with us, we'd love to hear it.
Sure. I'm gonna let's see. I'm gonna have to read it off my phone.
Hmm. And
Um,
hopefully, our viewers out there watching today will subscribe to our channel and join our World Inkers Network group if you want to be a part of that. I would love to have you on the group. So, Melissa Chappelle's with us today, and she's going to read a poem from her latest post surgery work. Whenever you're ready.
This is called not my best poem, but my most recent poem. It is Sabbath Rising.
Mm-hmm.
A Sabbath rest falls in crimson, gold, singed orange in these mystic woods of the ancient ways. They stain the brown earth with watercolors, soft and fluid, the wind ranting in the canting leaves, their words coloring the ashen soil in streams of azure, cobalt, lavender, goldenrod, vermilion. It's for shades to worship the unimaginable God on the unimaginable Sabbath when all creation rests, and my poor frame is allowed to find something reminiscent of what it was when the Sabbath moon was still young. Colors then brittle, the lamb's blood of rust stain the streets, the crimson lace leaves of pomegranate. This was the day of the aging sun, not mine to hold, not mine to claim. Yet I recall when the Sabbath caught a wing of the silver moon, when I was young and lithe, greening among the apple boughs, when the yoke was lifted, the axe was laid down, and the lamb was unafraid.
Hmm. I noticed specifically in there. There's a lot of images of color, like sharp color images, metal, a lot of metal, and element images, and a lot of that fascinating. That's a very interesting poem.
Thank you.
Just look forward to seeing how your journey is furthered and through the poetic works you're creating, and we'd love to take a look at your manuscript sometime. Sure, I'm sure you'd love to have us publish it maybe one day, and that'd be kind of interesting to see what we can get from that.
I love that.
Yeah, I'd love to look at it. It sounds like fascinating work, and it would be interesting to see how continued development, maybe even after the mortality fears calm down, and see how your consciousness kind of changes in that light. Because I've had a few mortality scares myself, and one or two in the last couple of decades that I think heightened my poetry to an extent, made me more aware of the world out there, and that in and of itself can make a person kind of reflect more deeply on what they're writing.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
That's very interesting. Approach we've had to today's show, and talking about how medical transitions can create new forms of expression. And so, if you want to add anything at the end here, I think we will go on to our commercial break, and if you want to just say anything to the audience, or to give some shout outs to friends and family and so forth, we'll let you do that.
Well, I would just say, if you're ever facing any kind of medical difficulty, and mine was, I have a shaved head,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of people who have shaved heads, my hair is gonna go back, and I knew that chances were that I was gonna live. A lot of people who have shaved heads, know that their chances aren't that great.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I would say that if you do have a medical trauma like that, a life trauma or
Mm-hmm.
something like that, that may be a good therapy is to turn to writing
Mm-hmm.
and journal your thoughts
Stress.
and feelings. If not through poetry, through just with journaling and something like that, and to, you know, let your, allow your emotions out through pen and paper or through a typewriter or something like that, because it's very healing.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that's probably easy for me to sit here and say, um, but it's been good for me.
Mm-hmm.
And if you do, face a trauma like that, I would I would encourage that sort of practice to help you through your most difficult and darkest days. To do that.
Absolutely. Do you want to say thank you or to friends and supporters or anything like that?
Yeah. I want to say thank you to Dustin, who's
Oh boy, that guy.
he's been a great friend to me throughout, and I appreciate that, Dustin.
Sure.
And
To the dogs as well.
yeah,
They want attention.
dogs and Devout Sala
Uh huh.
and Darlene and I'm trying to think
Being hijacked. You're being interrupted. Dogus interruptus.
yeah, Boo Boo, all those. It's
Funny.
my brother and his family who kept me
Okay.
uh,
Mm-hmm.
for 5, 6, 7 days. I can't remember how long. Into the medical team at Richmond Memorial. They were my surgical team.
Mm-hmm.
They were great, having great. Oh, I think they're glad to be rid of me.
Excellent. Well, it's good to have you on today's show. We had a little bit of a shortened show today due to scheduling conflicts with Davika. We'll have her on the show again soon, probably in the next few weeks. We'll get her back into the studio. And so if you were coming onto the show to watch her, we apologize for the conflict, but it's been wonderful talking with Melissa Chappelle about her surgery and poetry and her transition from, previous forms and styles of poetry to what she's doing today. And we'll see in the future, hopefully we'll be able to see some tangible goods, some books, and see what happens with that. So that's been really nice and pleasant talking with you, Melissa. And I understand you have another event coming up pretty soon that you have to take off for in the next little time. So we'll let you go. And thanks for being on the show today.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. It was fun.
Thank you. Yeah. You've been watching World Inkers Network. I'm Dustin Pickering. We had Melissa Chappelle. You can go back and watch that show. And it was a wonderful, discussion. And I hope that you guys can donate to our show to help us continue promoting the arts at paypal.me/nyparrot. That is paypal.me/nyparrot. And that's going to be up on the banner here in a second. paypal.me/nyparrot. If you want to donate, support us in any way, just a little financial. And if you don't want to donate, you can buy our books. We have plenty of wonderful books to sell. The Armistice Peace December Speaks is up online at Amazon. We also have Damon Fried's book, his recent book, Go Forth, and that's 10 years of poetry from him. It's a nice book to add to your collection. And we have the Albanian anthology, The New Condemned. that just came out recently, and it's doing really well on the market. So I hope you guys take a look at that and read some of that wonderful poetry. You can even buy an ebook if you don't want to throw in the full price for a paperback. You can buy the ebook for $4.99. We'd love to get your support that way, as well as donations if you want to do that. So if you want to be a guest poet on the show, then I suggest getting in touch with me at publication.worldinkers@gmail.com. That'll get you in touch with me, Dustin Pickering. You can send a bio and a headshot, maybe like 3 or 4 sample poems or a chapter from your latest book. If you're a novelist or a short fiction writer, send me a story or a piece of your work, and I'll read through it, and I'll come up with some questions for you. So we'll challenge you a little bit to think about your own literature and how you create. So it'll be a wonderful experience for you, and it'll be a wonderful experience for me too, because I'm learning in this process as well. So thanks for joining us, Melissa, and I hope you all out there have a great afternoon. And just remember, it's time to start writing. So get to writing, guys, out there. And I hope you enjoy your afternoon. And give me just a second. I'll pull up our jingle, and we'll be concluding the show. So thank you for joining us and watching the show today. Subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much. Hi, I am Dustin Pickering from Parrot Literary Corner. You know me, your noble and honest host, and I've got exciting news for you.
Listen to the people. Listen to humanity. Listen to the parrot.